Yes, sir, we're officially back at it. This is Boog Nice coming at you with the SH Figuarts Spider-Man Homecoming movie, Spider-Man homemade suit version, and Iron Man Mark 47 2-pack review. Let's do it.
This ain't for no scalper. You a scalper? Then fuck out shit. This one's for them real collectors. That's army building and posing figures. Marvel Legends, imports, mini matey, I'm fucking with them. Hype beast, we know about you. Stay buying figs, don't know about it.
And as a quick look at the back of the box, you can see a few images of Spider-Man and a few images of Iron Man. And I have to say, I did not expect both of these to be packed into one box. I had every intention of reviewing Spider-Man and then reviewing Iron Man right after in two separate reviews. But yeah, I guess you're going to get a 2-for-1 here. This was a web shop exclusive, so you had to order this directly from Japan. All right, let's bust these guys open, see what's what. Alright, so I got the homemade suit Spider-Man out of the package here, and I must say off the bat that I do feel like I like this figure more so than the tech suit version. I was a little underwhelmed by the tech suit version, and then Mafex dropped their version of that Spider-Man, and they knocked it out of the park, and they pretty much shitted on the SH Figuarts version, in my humble opinion. But I do like some of the things that they've done with this figure as far as the articulation and the interchangeable parts and what have you. And I feel like the way this figure just kind of moves is a little better than the tech suit version. So let's jump right into it. Let's look at its accessories. Out of the package, he comes with a set of closed fists. And you can actually see the little web shooters here in the center of his hand. And you can see the other part of that apparatus around his wrist here, and that all looks pretty detailed and looks pretty good. And you can see the fingerless gloves, and everything quite certainly looks homemade here. And then his next set of hands is this semi-open set, which I guess you could probably use them to double as like a thumbs up. It does kind of look like he's given a thumbs up sign here, and they do have a small hole through the center of the hand, so I guess you could slip something through there, maybe his web line or something like that. Then he's got the sort of gnarly set of hands, and then he's got a set of open palms, and then he's got a set of thwipping hands. And while I got those on, I might as well show his two web slings that he comes with. They're both kind of straight out and they look translucent. There we go. No real issues, fairly simple swaps. Everything seems to be working in tandem, and it looks good. And then his final set of hands are the fully open hands with the fingers spread, and he has a total of 12 hands, so that includes the two fists that came attached to him on the figure, whereas the tech suit version had a total of 14 hands. Wait, hold on, stop the presses. I had to backtrack because I didn't realize there was one more web line that I didn't show. So there is a longer web sort of swing line that you can use, and that one can be inserted into that second set of hands that I showed. So either the left or the right hand, he holds it with no problem. It looks good, and you can definitely get him in a nice swinging motion, get his legs out in front or whatever you want to do. But that is a much longer line. I'd say this is maybe about, I don't know, 7 inches, 8 inches, something like that, and that looks good. And then he also comes with this little piece here, which you can actually use to tab in to his back. You can take out this little port and tab that into his back, so you can attach him to a stand, which they let you know is not packed in with the figure and is sold separately. They also indicate that you should be careful that you don't lose that part. I wanted to check to see if the backpack from the tech suit version will plug into that little port and if it will work, and it does. So yeah, you can definitely mix and match some of the parts with the or some of the accessories from the tech suit version with this one, obviously, and that looks really good. Even the way the hoodie fits right into the crease of the backpack up there, it looks good. I like this a lot. I actually probably like the way it looks on this body more so than the tech suit version. And his final accessory is going to be his hood. So you can see that the hood is actually down around his neck, on his shoulders here, and this is actually a separate piece that you can just pull off. I kind of like the way they did that. I thought that was cool. And his final accessory is just a hood that you can place around his neck or over his head. Well, maybe I need to remove this. No, I don't. All right, cool. So that works. And you can actually get the hoodie around his head, and you can see the strings there. And maybe this hood could have been a little larger. It looks a little funny. His head looks really big with this hood on. Let me see if I could fix this a little better. Hold on. I guess that's the best you can get. I do have it sitting kind of flush here on the back, so it does look like one piece, like it is part of the, you know, like it is one sleeveless hoodie here. And that looks pretty good, but I wish that the actual front of the hood kind of draped over the front of his face a little bit more, just a little bit more. But I do think that the deco looks good. I think that the sculpt of the figure, though, looks a little pudgy maybe. I don't know. Maybe, I guess he does have on a lot of stuff. I guess he did have on quite a few layers in the movie, so I understand it. But I don't know, something about the midsection seems maybe just a little off. But when you have everything lined up here, this is a separate part. Around his waist here. This is all supposed to be one piece. Like I said, this is all supposed to be part of the sleeveless hoodie, but you know, when you get everything lined up and the zipper and the spider emblem there, everything does look pretty good. And it looks like he's got like some long socks over his boots, and you can see the little bunches in his pants. This I'm not really a fan of. The way this looks here along the pelvis looks really weird, but you know, I'll talk about that a bit more as I talk about the articulation. But I do like the look of this. It does look pretty good, and the paintwork is nice and it is clean. Not the biggest fan of how the eyes look or the goggles look. I don't know. I think they could have done that a little better, and maybe not the biggest fan of the shape of the head either. But again, I still do like it. I mean, I have little minor gripes and some things look a little odd, but I feel like once I start messing with this guy and get him posed up and start really doing some dynamic poses and what have you, that the fun factor is absolutely there. So let's talk about articulation. Like I said, they've done some things on here that I think are pretty cool, pretty innovative, but some of it is a little wonky, maybe, and I'm not happy with some of it. But anyway, the head is on a ball joint. My issue with the head, now the head and neck can move independently of each other. You can see that the neck can actually move down pretty far, which in turn will get the head to look down pretty far. But when you try to get the head to look up, and you really try to push it to the limit, then the head just pops off. This pops off pretty easily here. You can see that ball peg in there. It's pretty small. I kind of wish that the actual peg was maybe a little longer, a little deeper, so that way you can actually really get the head to kind of sit upright on that neck joint. But you know, you can get it to move around, do a full 360, pivot, all of that good stuff. It's a good range going down left and right. It's just that when you really try to get it to go far back, that head pops off pretty easily, and that's annoying. Shoulders are on a ball joint. They're going to come up pretty far. You can actually get them to do a full 360. There is no upper bicep swivel, but it does swivel on that joint, and it does kind of act as a butterfly joint as well. You can see that additional range of motion in there, so you can get the arms pretty far in towards the center of his chest, and maybe almost get his arms into like a folded position if you really forced it. And you do get a very deep inward motion on the elbow. It's more than 90 degrees. I would consider it double jointed for sure. You get a swivel and a hinge on the wrist. You actually even get rotation here at the web shooter on both hands. I don't know if that's supposed to turn. I guess it is, because this one turns a little easier on his right hand. So upper torso is going to move back and forward pretty far. It'll rotate left and right. Now you don't really get too much rotation at the waist here below this part. Like I said earlier, this is a separate piece, the bottom of his sleeveless sweater there. But they did something interesting here with moving him forward. You can see there's another joint inside of there, and it will kind of pivot a little bit on that joint. But because you get him to crunch so far forward with that extra joint, you can really get him down. You can really get him into a great crouching position. You can see here that the legs come out pretty far into a full split. You can see how that joint is. I think that's a newer joint that Figuarts has been using. So the legs will come up pretty far, and then you can get them out, and then you can rotate them here at the upper thigh. So that works as a thigh swivel. You really get a nice range of motion in the legs. Double jointed knee. I wish there was rotation here at the top of his boot, or where his sock begins, I guess, but you do get a hinge and a pivot on the foot, and you get a toe joint. But you know, the beauty of this figure is here, and the abdominal area, getting them crunching low and getting them into those great spidey poses and getting his legs up and out. You're definitely going to have a good time posing this guy up. But this from the back looks very ugly. But I mean, again, if you don't shoot him from the back and you just get him in some frontward shots, then it'll be all right. and if you don't get this kind of in the shot either. So there are some points here that look a little strange and are kind of an eyesore, but I understand what they were trying to do as far as really giving you a great range of motion for articulation. All right, moving right along, taking a look at the Mark 47 Iron Man armor. This is what you would expect if you have the Mark 45 or the Mark 46. It's pretty much the same, I guess, mold or the same design, just a different deco, different color scheme. So you can see it's a good amount of silver here and some red highlights on the lower legs and on the extremities and on the upper torso and head. And I like this armor. From what I understand, I believe this armor only appeared in the Spider-Man Homecoming movie. It was exclusive to that flick. I guess we'll see for certain if it shows up in Avengers Infinity War or something like that, but I highly doubt it. And I do believe that purchasing this 2-pack was the only way that you could actually get this armor. While you could get the homemade suit Spider-Man separately, I believe the only way you can actually get this Mark 47 was as a part of this 2-pack. Correct me if I'm wrong. So everything looks real clean here. Figuarts always does very good Iron Man armors. I think they do some of the best as far as the 6-inch scale goes. And out of the pack, he comes with 2 fists. And similar to, I guess, the Mark 46, he's kind of got these mitts, what looks like mitts to me, over his fist. And let's see what the next set of hands look like. And he comes with a set of open flat palms, and I guess you can kind of use these to simulate flight, to have him with his hands out in front or at his side when he's in a flying position. And then it should be noted that his last set of hands are fixed in sort of an upward position, so you just pop them on and they're already in that position where he can kind of do his repulsor blast 1-2, and you can see the little peg on the end of the hand there. So I'll get some blast popped onto that peg in a moment, but I just want to show that, you know, all of the hands rotate, but they don't really hinge too much. I mean, you can kind of get them to move a little bit on that joint, but again, these hands come fixed in the position to fire his repulsor blast. So there you go. He's got a short set, and those look good. And when you get some light on them and you get some get them in a setup and really get some nice light on these will look pretty damn nice. And then he's got a longer set, and you can see the energy kind of focused there closer to the palm of his hand, and then the energy kind of trailing off as far as how the paint looks. This one's a little bit warped, but of course you could just fix that with a little hot water, cold water, and I like the way these look as well. And then his final accessory are just his boosters there that you can plug in right to the bottom of his feet. And you can see that little peg hole there, and this plugs in with no problem. All of the hands were easy to change out. I didn't have any issues with swapping out the hands on Spidey or on Iron Man. I saw my man Todd mention that he saw somebody with a broken wrist peg. I'm not sure if he meant that for Iron Man or for Spidey, but this looks good. And obviously once you get them in some great flying positions, this will look nice. And these, once the light hit them, they look great as well. So let's get some size comparisons going. Actually, you know what? I'm jumping the gun. Let's look closer at his deco and his articulation. I'll break out the Mark 46 and do some comparisons momentarily. I guess I kind of do see some things that might be a little bit different here on the back with these flaps, and maybe how the pads across the elbows look. Maybe there is a few little minor differences, but for the most part, 45, 46, 47 have just been kind of like them swapping out the color scheme and pretty much keeping the same base body. It hasn't been too much of a difference as far as how the armor looks. But yeah, this looks very clean, very nice paint work. As always, like I said, Figuarts always does a very good job with the Iron Man armors. They always look very, very good. And I don't really have any gripes here with the way this looks. I think it looks nice, clean, sleek, beautiful armor. And in terms of articulation, the head and neck move independently. The neck will move down pretty far. You'll get them to look down pretty far. You'll get them to look forward pretty far. So getting them in a flying motion is no issue. This head can actually pop off here if you wanted to. I guess you could probably get the Tony Stark head on there if you have that figure. Shoulders are on a ball joint. It's actually almost like two joints there the way the shoulder is. It's not hindered by this shoulder pad at all, so you can get it to rotate and almost kind of be in a, it's almost like a butterfly joint as well. And you get an upper bicep swivel, you get a double jointed elbow or just a bit more than 90 degrees. You get a swivel and a hinge on the wrist. The upper torso articulation is like that. You do get rotation here at the waist, which is cool, and you can get them to go forward pretty far, and that'll help with flying forward as far as getting them back. And you can see the double ball pegs there at the pelvis. The legs will come up. You got that kind of drop down Figuarts joint there, so you can get it to drop down and get the legs up. And you do get a double jointed knee, and you get a hinge and a pivot on the foot. Decent hinge. It'll rotate there too. You get a toe joint. The pivot, actually, if I remember correctly, because of how this comes down farther on this side, on the outer portion of his leg, I don't think the pivot works that much going this way. You do get a little bit, but you get more pivot going inward. All right, a couple quick size comparisons. You can see him next to his 2-pack mate here, the homemade suit Spider-Man, and these look good together. I think the proportions are just about right. I don't really see any issues there. Spider-Man looks like a smaller, younger kid, I guess, or teenager, and Iron Man looks like he's a man in a suit of armor for the most part. Maybe Iron Man could have just been a tad bit bigger, but I still do think they look fine together. I don't really see any issues. And then there's the Mark 46 Iron Man on the far left and the tech suit Spider-Man on the far right, and you can see how all of those stack up together. And I still think I favor the Mark 46 over the Mark 47 Iron Man. Although I do like the way this armor looks, I think the 46 looks cleaner and a little more streamlined. And there are definitely some differences here. Obviously, you can see the arc reactor is different. There are definitely quite a few differences throughout the deco. I was totally wrong in that. And let me show you this too. I had immediately noticed that these flaps were kind of out on the 47. You don't see that on the 46. And you can see this portion here in the back looks, and the lower back looks a little more slender on the 46 than the 47. His butt looks a little more wide on the 47. So quite a few differences. Like I said, the pads on the elbows are definitely different. There are definitely some noticeable differences. Even in the upper torso, this looks a little more slender, a little more streamlined. This looks a little more bulky. It looks like it has a little more girth to it. I do favor the 46, but again, I'm still a fan of 47. Just looking at both Spideys closer. I had mentioned this when I reviewed the tech suit Spider-Man, that I thought his fists looked really small. And they do. I mean, it is a little bit smaller here on this version than it is on the homemade suit version. And you can see the shape of the head is different. Obviously, like I said, he's got more layers on in the homemade suit version. But I just, this figure was just underwhelming, like I mentioned early on in the review. And one more comparison here, you can see the Tony Stark figure, which is definitely smaller than the Iron Man armor, as it should be. It should look like he can fit into that suited armor, or that fitted armor. That should almost be sort of skin tight, so it shouldn't be that much bigger, I suppose. But he is taller than Spider-Man, as you can see there. And then we got Rocket Raccoon on the far right, so I guess at some point these Rocket Raccoon will be meeting up with some of the other Avengers and Avengers Infinity War. Definitely looking forward to that. All right, moving right along. So a pretty nice 2-pack here. This is one I would definitely recommend if you can get it at a decent price. I wouldn't recommend you paying any crazy prices on the secondary market right now. Like I said, Spider-Man is available singular, but I do not believe that you can get Iron Man without copping the 2-pack. I pre-ordered this back in October, I believe, and I was able to get it for about $115 shipped, and I thought that was a pretty good price. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this overall. One thing I forgot to mention is that even though you get a really nice assortment of hands with Spider-Man, the set that they did not give you was a set that was kind of fixed for him to hold the cell phone. I would have liked to have him hold the cell phone that came with the tech suit version. But yeah, still a nice set here. Don't forget to participate in the polls that we have running right now. We have one running for the top 10 Marvel Legends of 2017. If you have a Facebook, all you have to do is click the link in the description below and vote. And then we have another poll going for the top toy company or brand of 2017. And again, that link will be in the description. Just click the link and vote. You have to have a Facebook account, though, to participate. And then don't forget that we also have our 2018 A.C.B.A calendar on pre-order right now. Proceeds from the calendar will be going to the American Diabetes Association. All right, thanks for hanging out. Any questions or anything you have, leave them in the description and the comments, excuse me, and I will definitely try to get to as many as possible. Yeah, maybe I'll have a little bonus after the A.C.B.A credits roll.
That's crispy.
There we go. So I hope that's showing up pretty well. Somebody had asked me on Instagram if the Mafex head would fit on the body. It's not really popped on the neck, but it's sitting on there tight enough where, you know, it works. And I think the proportions look good. I think this looks really good, actually. So, yeah, you got a lot of options for kind of kit bashing this body too and using the hoodie for different things and this and that. So that's going to be pretty fun to mess with. So I would actually like to get a second one of these so I could explore some possibilities. But all right, I've been going for at least 20 minutes now, so let me get out of here. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, peace.